On July 19, 2026, Luis de la Fuente stood on the touchline in New Jersey and watched Spain reach the final minutes of the World Cup final. Spain had controlled long stretches against Argentina, but the ball still refused to cross the line. Then, in the 106th minute, Nico Williams laid the ball across the box. Ferran Torres finished first time, and the coach almost nobody considered ready for the biggest stage became a world champion. But this story did not begin with that final goal. It began in December 2022, when Spain returned from the World Cup in Qatar. Luis Enrique left the national team, and the federation announced his replacement. To many fans, the appointment felt like a step backward. Instead of another famous manager, Spain had chosen a man the wider public barely knew, a coach from the youth system. So, how did a manager without a major club career lead Spain to its second World Cup title? The answer is not one perfect formation. It is the story of a generation he started building long before he took charge of the senior team. Stay until the end, because the final against Argentina explains more than how Spain won the trophy. It explains why the decisive moment belonged to a player who was not the obvious hero, but to the player De La Fuente trusted when the entire tournament came down to one action. If you enjoy football stories about coaches who are overlooked first and impossible to ignore later, stay with the channel. We are not only counting the score, we are looking at the decisions that create champions. In December 2021, Spain returned from Qatar with more questions than answers. Luis Enrique's team had dominated possession and scored 7 goals against Costa Rica, but they could not get past Morocco in the knockout stage. The penalty shootout ended in defeat, and another Spanish project came to an end. Spain needed a new manager. The country was used to names that had already proved everything. Vicente del Bosque had won the World Cup, while Luis Enrique had conquered Europe with Barcelona and worked with the best players on the planet. Next to those careers, Luis de la Fuente looked almost like a random choice. He had not won the Champions League. He had not managed a European giant. He did not arrive with the image of a coach who could change football with one tactical idea. So the first question was simple. Why had Spain trusted its most important team to a manager most viewers barely knew? The answer was hidden in a place where people rarely look when choosing a World Cup coach. In 2003, De La Fuente joined the structure of Spain's national teams. He worked with players who were not stars yet and did not have massive transfer values. In 2000, he led Spain's under-19 to the European title. In 2000, he won the European Championship with the under-20 In 2020, he guided Spain to Olympic silver. Those were not just impressive lines on a resume. Those teams included Rodri, Mikel Merino, Unai Simon, Fabian Ruiz, Dani Olmo, and other players who would later appear in Spain's biggest matches. De La Fuente was not assembling a team from random parts. He already knew the material. He knew who would demand the ball under pressure, who would disappear after making a mistake, who could enter a match in extra time and still accept the responsibility of a whole country waiting for a decision. But a youth tournament medal does not prove that a manager can control a senior national team. That test arrives when young players have to compete with famous names and challenge the old hierarchy. De La Fuente began with a simple rule. Spain would have no untouchable players. Past trophies could not guarantee a place. A player had to make the team stronger right now. In March 2023, the new project received its first serious blow. Spain lost 0 to Scotland.
Critics immediately had their evidence. The federation had made a mistake. The new team did not look like a rising world power. It looked like a group still searching for its identity. Then, a few months later, Spain reached the Nations League final against Croatia. After extra time, there was still no winner. The trophy went to a penalty shootout. Unai Simon saved 2 penalties, and Spain won De La Fuente's first title. That was only a partial answer. Yes, the coach could win a trophy. But could he build a team strong enough for a tournament where every opponent would know its habits? His next decision looked even riskier. In September 2023, De La Fuente called up Lamine Yamal. He was 16 years old, and had very little senior experience. A cautious manager could have waited a year or two and protected his own reputation. De La Fuente did not wait. He saw that Yamal could change more than the lineup. He could change the geometry of Spain's attack.
Nico Williams was already dangerous on the opposite wing. With both of them available, Spain could threaten from two directions at once. Opponents could no longer close the middle and force the team to circulate the ball harmlessly outside the box. This was bigger than one call-up. Spain kept its possession football, but added speed and directness. The young wingers pushed opponents backward, while Rodri and the midfielders gained more room to control the match. That was the version of Spain the world saw at Euro 2024. The team arrived in Germany talented and young, but not universally considered the favorite. First, Spain won all three group matches without conceding a goal. Then came the games in which a promising idea had to become a result. In the quarterfinal, Spain faced Germany, the host nation. The match went into extra time. In the 119th minute, Dani Olmo delivered the ball into the box, and Mikel Merino scored the winner. De La Fuente had coached Merino in the youth system. Now the same player sent Spain into the semi-final of the European Championship. One coincidence can be dismissed, but then the pattern repeated. In the semi-final against France, Spain conceded first. The team could have panicked, and Yamal could have hidden behind more experienced teammates. Instead, he received the ball around 20 meters from goal and curled it into the far top corner. At 16, Yamal became the youngest scorer in Euro history. Spain scored again and reached the final. Then it beat England 2-1. 7 matches, 7 victories, European champions. For De La Fuente, this was the moment when the word unknown began to sound absurd. But the first major victory created a new conflict. Euro 2024 proved that Spain could win. Now everyone expected Spain to keep winning. In 2025, Spain reached another Nations League final. Portugal were the opponents. The match ended 2-2 after extra time, and Portugal won the penalty shootout 5-3. The defeat changed the conversation immediately. The coach, who had been praised as the manager of a new era, was suddenly called stubborn. Some critics said his football had been figured out. Others argued that Euro 2024 had been a perfect coincidence. That was the moment De La Fuente had to prove what he really was. A manager who had found one successful formula, or a manager capable of surviving the moment when that formula no longer looked unbeatable. He did not panic. He did not abandon the young players. He did not copy another national team. De La Fuente kept the idea and made it more mature. Spain had to do more than create chances. It had to survive matches in which one opening might not appear until the 120th minute. At the 2026 World Cup, Spain were no longer the surprise team from Germany. They were expected to win. Opponents knew Yamal, Williams, and Rodri. They prepared for possession and fast attacks from the wings. Spain no longer had the advantage of being underestimated. The opening match against Cape Verde ended 0-0. For one of the tournament favorites, it looked dangerous. But Spain did not destroy its own identity. It did not abandon control. It became calmer and more precise. Then came wins over Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, and Austria. In the knockout stage, Spain beat Portugal and Belgium 1-0. Both matches were decided by late goals from Mikel Merino, the same player De La Fuente had coached years earlier. This was no longer a team relying only on Yamal's brilliance. The wingers still provided speed. Rodri still controlled the rhythm. But Spain had learned to win when the match became closed, physical, and almost cruel. In the semi-final, France were one of the biggest obstacles left in the tournament. Spain beat them 2-0, with Mikel Oyarzabal scoring from the penalty spot and Pedro Porro adding the second. Across 8 matches, Spain scored 14 goals and conceded only 1. Only Argentina remained. The final was not just a meeting between two teams. It was also a meeting between two coaches connected by an older story. In 2017, De La Fuente taught Lionel Scaloni on the Spanish Federation's coaching course. Now the student and the teacher were standing on opposite touchlines, fighting for the biggest trophy in football. But football does not reward a beautiful biography. Argentina closed the space. Emiliano Martinez made several saves. Spain had to wait. In a match like this, a manager can become impatient, send every attacking player forward, and turn the final into chaos. De La Fuente trusted the system. In the 106th minute, Nico Williams received the ball and laid it across the box. Ferran Torres arrived where the next touch had to be the final touch. He shot first time. Spain led 1-0. Torres had started the tournament, then lost his place after a difficult opening match.
But in the final, De La Fuente gave him the moment. The substitute became the World Cup hero. That was the perfect final scene for De La Fuente's Spain. Not one untouchable superstar saving everyone alone, but a system in which every player had to be ready for the minute when his role became more important than his name. Spain became world champions for the second time. Now the central question sounds different. Was De La Fuente an unknown coach who got lucky with a golden generation? Or was he the person who helped that generation become a team? The answer is not only in Torres's final goal. It is in Marino's winner in the 119th minute against Germany. It is in the 16-year-old Yamal, trusted before the world demanded to trust him. It is in the defeat to Portugal, after which De La Fuente refused to destroy his own idea. It is in every player who entered the pitch when the situation demanded a role more than a reputation. De La Fuente did not build world champions in one season. He spent years working with their generation, learning their strengths, testing their character, and waiting for the moment when everything could connect. To viewers, Spain became great across a few tournaments. To him, the journey began in 2019. That is why unknown coach was only true for people who were not looking closely enough. Spain did not find a random savior. It found a man who understood its present and its future long before the World Cup was lifted. Sometimes, a champion is built by the manager with the loudest name. Sometimes, it is built by the coach who comes from the youth system, chooses players before the public recognizes them, and stays loyal after the first major defeat. Luis de la Fuente led Spain to the World Cup title. But before that, he did something harder. He taught a generation of talented players to become one team. When Ferran Torres scored in the 106th minute, the world saw the final moment of a project that had begun 13 years earlier.